Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 34. Mama said there'd be days like this.
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my god, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Welcome to Small Biz Life. I am your co-host, Kristen Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And we are two small business owners, husband and wife, who are helping you through this journey of living the small biz life.
Yes. And inevitably, along that journey, or any journey you take really, you are going to have one of those days.
Oh, yeah. Those days. Have you ever had one of those days where you just didn't have the energy to keep going?
Yeah, or you sat around and it felt like no matter how much time you were in front of your computer or wherever you did your work, you didn't get anything you needed to done.
Or everything that you tried to get done went badly.
Or the phone kept ringing and it was this problem after that problem.
Oh, yeah. We've had those days. You know, I think a lot of times when people talk about their businesses, they only talk about the good things. Right? So if you follow a lot of entrepreneurs online, they're always talking about how things are going well. You know, they're sharing their wins with you. And a lot of us, we tend to keep those bad days, those losses close to the vest because you don't want to show people that you have bad days. Mm-hmm. Right? Guys, this is hard. It really is. And the thing you've got to remember, if this was easy, everyone would start a small business. Mm-hmm. If this was easy, 85% of all small businesses wouldn't go out of business in 18 months.
Yeah, you know, I think the thing to keep in mind is it's, in theory, easier to be your own boss. However, being responsible for all of the workings of your business creates risk and anxiety. And some days that just will overwhelm you.
And it causes fatigue.
Yes.
I got to say, since I went to launch out last weekend, and since I've gotten home, I've been tired. Really tired.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had all these ideas and I was really motivated when I came home, and the body just did not want to go with the brain.
And the flaw of being a small business owner is, especially if you're a very small business, if you're not functioning, your business might not be functioning.
Yes. So this week, you know, what I did is I generated a list of things that weren't, how you say, I guess, high impact. You know, a lot of the tasks that I generated this week, because I knew when I got home on Sunday, I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And many of you know that I'm also a college professor. So it's the end of the semester. Everything's really crazy. I'm actually gearing up to move into a new job at the university. And so there's lots of meetings and lots of things I'm trying to catch up on. And I just feel like I'm so behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
You know, that no matter what I'm getting done, it doesn't seem like I'm making enough progress because there's just so much to do. Mm-hmm. And so this week I said, all right, listen, I know I've got a lot of stuff on the, you know, on the job side of things. I have client meetings this week. We had the quarterly deadline this week. And so there's just a lot of stuff going on. So when I said, all right, for the online part of my business, I have to be realistic about what I can actually get done. Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things to keep in mind is you have to be cognizant that these kind of days are going to happen. If the small business is your only source of revenue, it becomes incumbent upon you to make sure that enough of your business is automated that it can actually help cover you if you don't have staff to do that for you.
Yeah, and I think that helps a lot. And I think if you're at the point where you're doing this part-time, you really have to dig down and think about why you're trying to build this. Because I think this is the hardest part of small business, is when you're in that transition where your business is making some money, you're starting to make some traction, but you're tired and you don't really need to do this because you've got this other income over here. Or maybe your income in your business, it's rolling along okay, and you don't really want to do the extra because you're tired, and it would just be easier to just curl up and watch, Netflix all day. We've had those days.
Yeah.
I have those days. Hell, I had that week. Like, oh, what's Grey's Anatomy? Oh, that would be good. And so I want to talk a little bit about how I get past those days and get myself back on track. So that's kind of where we're going today. So one of the things I've already talked about is when I do my task list for the week, I always make sure that there are some high brain power items on my list and that there are some low brain power items on my list. So one of the items on my list this week was to convert the podcast into video so that I could put it up on YouTube. That is a low brain power task item.
Yeah.
I can do that on the couch while I'm watching TV, right? Because it's got a process and everything, and I've got a template set up. So all I've got to do is change out the audio, change the name, and process. So on those days, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do anything. I just can't. Not today. Because the struggle is real, folks. I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to start processing some videos. And it makes you feel like you're making progress, because you are, right? You're doing something that needs to be done for your business. It might be one of those tasks that you kind of look at and go, oh, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it allows you to make progress when you're having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
And, irregardless if you're sick or if it's mental fatigue or anguish or whatever it is, there is some task you can get done. And another thing to think about too is if your core business is content creation, does creating the content bring you relief? If it does, it might not be stuff that you're ready to publish, but maybe you can punch out a couple of newsletters or get the idea of what you're doing down because you enjoy that part of your business. And other parts of your business maybe slide a little bit, and hopefully you have the automation to help back that up. If not, look to find some automation that will actually help. There's a lot of web services now, Zapier or If Then That, which will help you easily automate specific online tasks to happen. Now, not every task is online and not every task is easily automatable, but you really have to keep in mind, what are the tasks that I don't want to do, even if they're low energy? And maybe some of the higher energy tasks I normally do, I'm not writing final drafts for it, but I'm writing first drafts of content.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like you've got to figure out what your thing is that recharges you. So sometimes for me, when I kind of feel like I'm not making impact, I'm not making a difference, I'll go into some of the groups that I'm in on Facebook and I'll look for posts where I can help people. And being able to do that, helping people with their business problems, with their tax questions, that helps recharge me and say, okay, you know what? There is a reason I'm doing this. People need this kind of thing. And so sometimes just kind of going out, finding your people and interacting with them Find a local networking event, find a conference that you can go to that will help recharge your batteries.
The other thing you can do too is, on top of trying to find those tasks that you're good at, allow yourself, like say an hour. I'm going to take an hour off right now. When I get done, I'm just going to try for 15 minutes. There's something I have to get done. I really don't want to do it. This week doesn't help, but I'm going to work on it I'm going to try 15 minutes. And a lot of times once you get going, all of a sudden you're enjoying it either more than you thought you would, or you don't realize that you've gone beyond your 15 minutes. Don't set a timer when you do that, but say, I'm going to do this for at least 15 minutes and try.
Right. One of my mentors, and I mentioned her on the show before, Dr. Doreen Stern, would say, find the smallest thing that you can do to make progress. Mm-hmm. So when you think about a large project that you might be working on, take that large project and think of one thing that you could do. And then say, is there anything smaller than that? Is there a piece of that I could do? Is there a smaller piece of that? And keep bringing it down until you come up with the smallest thing that you can do to help you start the process. And then when you get that little win, for me, it really helps get the ball rolling. And then I start getting excited because I've made a little bit of progress. It's kind of like the same thing if you've heard of Dave Ramsey's debt snowball, right? The reason that he has you pay off the smallest debt first, even if it's, the lowest interest rate, is so that you get a little win. Mm-hmm. Because those wins get you excited to keep going. And it's the same thing in business, is that if you have a small item on your task list that you can knock out, it'll help build momentum to keep going.
And another approach you can take too as well is, especially if you're a small business owner, have an accountability partner. Mm-hmm. Not someone who's tied up in your business, but someone who you can go to and you can talk to them about what's going on in your business, and they can let you know if it's you, maybe you're just whining. Go whine to them. And maybe even if it is nothing you can do, they might still kick your butt. And you want them to kick your butt. And you might even be a little frustrated when they kick your butt. And there's nothing wrong with that. But take the energy you get from getting your butt kicked and get some work done.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I love the mastermind groups that I'm in. I love having the accountability of our Facebook group, mm-hmm. which if you're looking for some accountability, our Facebook group is facebook.com/group/smallbizlife. And we have different days in the group to help keep you accountable mm-hmm. for what you need to get done. And, there are days that people post like, I'm having a bad day. I don't have this. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But you know what? We support each other. We've got each other's backs. And a lot of times that's really helpful, is just to have somebody there.
Because you need two things. One, sometimes you need your butt kicked. And two, sometimes you need validation to say, with everything that you went through last week, I could not be functioning. Take a nap. Mm-hmm. And maybe you'll at least take a nap. And then after the nap, you'll have enough energy to start going again.
Right. And we've done that in our mastermind group sometimes. Sometimes we kick people's butts and we tell them, hey, you got to keep going. And there are other times we go, hey, listen, you need to take some time. Mm-hmm. You've been going so fast for so long that you need to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
But that's why it's good to have those kind of groups. And if you want to start a mastermind group, all you got to do is find 3, 4, 5 other people mm-hmm. and just say, hey, listen, I want to do this on, Wednesday nights. Mm-hmm. Would you want to be in it with me?
Yeah.
And you're just looking for people who are going to hold you accountable and who are going to be honest with you. Mm. But I find knowing that I have those groups and knowing that, I'm in 2 groups and they both meet every 2 weeks, knowing that I need to make progress or else my mastermind group is going to kick my butt. Mm-hmm. It keeps me going.
Especially if it's your data report. Good gosh, you better have something done.
Yeah, because if you're in the hot seat, you better have made progress. So, think about how you can get someone or a group of people to be a source of accountability for you, to keep you going. Another great thing that I have access to is there's a Google Hangout of small business people, self-employed people, hustling people. And if there are days that I really need to get stuff done, I'll go hop in there because I know like once an hour I've got to check in with them and let them know what I'm doing and what I'm working on. And that's another thing too, that if you're in a local chamber or you're in a business group on Facebook, you can post up and say, hey, this is kind of something I want to do. Is anybody interested? Create a Google Hangout link, and post it.
Now, the thing to keep in mind is for all of these things, having accountability partners and masterminds and Google Hangouts where you virtually work with people essentially and check in once an hour, there is an inherent risk built into those. And that is someone who you have a relationship with has one of those days and you're on the other end of the spectrum. And the thing you really need to keep in mind when you do this is, you have a responsibility. It's not a negative risk. When I say risk, it's because you might not get done what you're planning to do that day. But if one of these people who help you through the problems is having one of those days themselves, it's incumbent upon you to try and help them. Mm-hmm. Obviously deadlines sometimes get in the way of that, but do what you can to help them the same way they would help you.
Yeah. And I've had that happen a couple times this week where I've had people approach me and say, listen, do you have like 20 minutes that we could talk? I'm kind of stuck and I don't know where, I need some help with where I'm going.
Yeah.
And, one of the beautiful things about my schedule and working from home is that usually I can say, yeah, you know what? I can do that. Because when people pour into you, you have the responsibility to turn around and pour into other people.
Yeah.
And you've got to have boundaries with that. That you can't always drop what you're doing to help somebody out. But when you can say, you know what, you've poured so much into me, let me pour back into you. And that's one of the best parts of my business is that I have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people who have poured into us that have helped grow this show, help share this show, who help each other out in the group. And so when I can do that, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. And, if you're struggling in your business, I'm going to be really honest with you. If you find that you keep struggling in your business, I want you to look at yourself for a minute and say, am I pouring into people? Am I helping others? Because, there's that saying that, you get more bees with honey. When you're pouring into other people and you're helping other people, they want to pay it forward for you. And I find that a lot of the business owners I know that are really struggling, it's because they've isolated themselves in this little bubble. And they say, I'm going to work so hard. And I'm not going to bring in community. And I'm not going to bring in help. And I'm not going to help anybody else. Because I have to grow my thing. Me first. And yeah, there's got to be a certain degree of that. But small business is all about paying it forward. And if you don't generate that kind of goodwill around you, people notice that.
Especially if you're asking for help all the time and never giving it.
Exactly. I've seen a lot of people on Facebook that they'll just like drop out a promo post. Boom. And they drop the mic and they walk away. And even if people interact with it, they don't go back to that post. they never help people.
At a minimum, you need to respond to your fans, the people who are interacting with you about your stuff at a minimum. Because one, I know for me, when I interact with, people's content and they actually respond to me, especially if it's a big name, I never forget that.
Oh, yeah.
I've had Michael Hyatt interact with me. I've had Jeff Walker interact with me. I've had John Lee Dumas interact with me. And actually Tim Grahl as well. All 4 of those people I've been in groups with who've responded to me personally. And I will never forget that because, one, I consider them at a much higher level in this game than I am. And 2, because they took the time to help me out and they're at a much higher level than I am. So it's not like they need me to help grow their business. They don't.
Exactly. So, don't forget kind of how you got there. And if you've been given certain skills and certain talents, and you have to share those with people. Most of the people that I really respect in business, especially the people that are doing stuff online, always say, share your best content for free. Michael Hyatt has repeatedly said, all of my content is up on my website. Mm-hmm. You just have to find it.
Yeah.
I just package it up in an easy format and sell it for the people who don't want to go track it down. And so if you're feeling a lot of burnout, it may be because you're not sharing. You're not helping. You're trying too hard to protect your stuff and generate revenue. I mean, it's funny because a lot of people say, you do this podcast for free. I don't have a product to sell right now. Right now. Pound soon. It's coming. But it's funny because on a regular basis, people email me and say, hey, listen, can I buy an hour of your time? Can I consult with you? I have, I'm stuck in my business. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And that's how I generate additional revenue in my business. I don't go out there and go, hey, you want to book an hour with me? You want to, hey, oh, I'm here. Hi. I have a thing. Come buy it. I just help people. And it's funny because that's the kind of thing that recharges my batteries when I'm like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And it's kind of funny how that happens with my business, is that when I kind of feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I can do the podcast anymore. I'm tired. I got a lot going on. It's funny because I had 3 people reach out to me this week that say they wanted some consulting time with me. And so you say, you know what? Yeah, this is working.
And I don't think we even have that on the website as a service, do we?
No.
No.
But it happens.
Yeah.
So, I want you to think about why are your batteries dead right now? Because I know a lot of you are feeling this because I'm talking to you about it. I want you to think about why you're there. Maybe it's because you've got stuff going on with your job, with the business, you're hustling real hard and you're tired. Maybe it's because you're taking on other people's stuff and you're making their stuff your problem.
Or maybe you are spending so much time worried about why you don't like selling. You're in a way being a bit selfish because if you could sell some more, you could help a lot more people because you have additional revenue to do that with. So you take the excuse that I don't like to do something and turn that into a negative for your day. Oh, I have to sell something today. Oh, I have to market something today. And in a way, that's kind of being a bit self-centered when you're sitting there not trying to earn the revenue, which will help you grow your business and deliver your good service or product to other people.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that happens a lot of times we get into sales. You hate to sell. I know that. And I don't like to sell either. Mm-hmm. That's something I think we're both pretty bad at. But that's why we give away lots of free content.
Yeah.
So, but I think Jeff makes a really good point that, you know, you've got to deliver some value to people in order to be able to build your revenue stream. And if you don't build your revenue stream, then you're going to have to go do something else that you don't particularly like, that doesn't fill your, doesn't fill your well.
Yeah. Or think of how many people we know who have tremendous content for people in specific circumstances, content that will help make them better. And they don't have enough time to spend on it because, in part, the products and services they do have, they don't push because they feel like they're selling stuff. But then again, the people who are out there who need that product or service are cut off.
Right. Because if you don't tell people about your product or service, how are they going to know? How are they going to know what it is you do, what value you can provide if they don't know you exist? So I think that's a really important point. Now, I want to go back to what I was saying about picking up other people's stuff, taking on their problems. And we do this a lot because, I think we talked in a previous episode about how we were talking about not letting other people dictate your schedule. That's one of the early episodes. I think it's like number 3 or 4. We get into this habit, and women were worse about this than I think men are. But we pull in everybody else's stuff. Everybody else has a struggle. Everybody has a problem, and we take it on as our own.
Personalize it.
We personalize it. In the book Boundaries, there's a great story where Dr. Henry Cloud is working with these 2 parents. They come in and they say, well, my son, our son has a problem. He's not motivated. He won't get a job. He just kind of sits at home and he doesn't do much. And Dr. Cloud says, well, why isn't he here? And they said, well, he wouldn't come. We talked to him about his problems, but, he wouldn't come. And Dr. Cloud said, well, that's because he doesn't have any problems. You do, because you've taken them on as your own. And I think as small business owners, we try to solve everyone's problems, even problems that fall outside the scope of our business, because we want to help others around us. We don't want anyone else to experience any pain, any discomfort. So we take on that pain and that discomfort, and it drains our batteries to the point that we can't do what we need to get done because we're too busy helping everyone else do the things that they should be doing. And so sometimes we have to let people experience a little pain and a little discomfort. We need to let people figure out their path. And this is really hard when it's a family member, when it's a parent or a sibling or a child.
Or anyone you love.
Anyone you love. But sometimes you have to let them figure out their own way.
And I think in addition to people we love, people with circumstances that are similar to our painful past, it's easy to take on those pains too. Like if someone would come up to me and say that their wife had just gotten diagnosed with cancer, that would flash me back to when my wife and I started going through that. And where it's fair for me to feel those pains, what's unfair is for me to try and take on the pain that he's feeling about his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Because That's something that they have to work on together. I can listen. I can tell them how I coped, but I can't make him make decisions, and I can't make him do things the way I think they should be done. And you have to keep that in mind. If you offer advice, they might not take it. And if they do and it doesn't work for them, they might blame you.
Right. It's kind of funny because we were talking about not putting yourself in a bubble, right? When it came to your business. But I want you to think about how you're letting other people put their problems, their hurt into you. And how are you reacting to that? Is that taking away from your ability to work on your business, to grow your business? Because we just went through, there were layoffs at the state and they're still going on. And I know that wrecked you for days. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even so much that you were worried about you, mm-hmm. but you were worried about the people around you.
Yep. It's like I have a coworker who has young kids who just started working. It would be devastating to have young kids and be laid off. I've lost 2 users, essentially my internal clients, to being laid off, and that bugs me. I'm a very empathetic person, and a part of me wants to take on all of these pains for people because that's just kind of my personality. I sit there and I feel bad. One of them has been my friend almost the entire time I've been working at the state.
Mm-hmm. And then, so you would be you were stressed out.
Yeah.
And then I was stressed out because you were stressed out. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we ended up losing some productive time because we were both so stressed out, and it wasn't even our circumstance. Yeah. It was because of the stuff that was going on mm-hmm. around us. And, and that happens, and that's normal. When you get into that funk, try to figure out why you're in that funk. Mm-hmm. What's causing it? Is it because something's affecting you, or is it because it's affecting someone you care about? And then, I grew up Irish Catholic, even though I'm not Irish, but I grew up Irish Catholic. And one of the prayers that was said a lot in the Irish Catholic Church, which has always resonated with me, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that, for me, whenever things get kind of crazy and I sit down and I say, okay, is this me or is this external? Is there something that I can do to change this? And if I can't, then I say, okay, all right, I recognize how I'm feeling. I understand that I can't change it. And I keep going. Because the other thing too is that if you don't pull your business back together when things like this are happening, then it's not going to be there when you need it. It's not going to be there when those around you need it. And so you've got to rein that back in. So I just kind of want you to think, maybe you're in one of those slumps right now. You're in the funk. Not the other word, you're in the funk. Okay. And I want you to think about why